Well, we were in Mexico for the beginning of the pandemic we got stuck there. So we were there for 3 months.
Oh, wow.
And, so did a lot of painting down there, but, I think I brought like, 14 or so Altoid containers with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I filled those all up, but I had a sketchbook with me because just in case I wanted to do other stuff, and I ended up filling up that whole sketchbook. So.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 714 podcast. Today, I got a very special guest with me, Remington Robinson. He's a painter and, just makes really amazing artwork. How's it going today?
Oh, pretty good.
Yeah.
Nice cloudy day here in Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah. It's nice having you. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. And so I want to, I'll tell you how I even got to see your work in the first place. I saw your artwork on Instagram. That's one of the pros of social media, I guess, is that all these creators and artists could share their work on social media and on Instagram. And I think I was just scrolling through Instagram. Sometimes you just go on there and just go on the explore page. And I saw your painting, and it was unique in the sense that I never seen somebody have their painting and then the actual landscape or object there. I'll share one of your images on the screen for listeners and viewers. And it's just very unique. How did you come up with that style, really, of painting a small painting and then having the background there?
Yeah, I didn't really even come up with it. I saw other people doing it, and I talked to them, asking them if I could, if they wouldn't mind if I try that out, and they said sure, it doesn't matter, because they saw other people doing it as well. So I don't really know where it originated from, but I guess in the world of plein air painting, when people are painting outside in open nature or painting from life, a lot of people will photograph their work with their subject in the background. Yeah. So I just kind of have my own way of doing it. I like to have that little Altoid container really square in the picture, and sometimes people like to line it up with their subject, or I don't know. I'm kind of a perfectionist, and I like things to be square. Yeah.
Cause I see on your Instagram, pretty much all your pictures are like that, where I didn't even know if it was an Altoid can, I just learned that. But yeah, just having that, and to me, it was very unique. The first time I saw it, at first I was just blown away by the detail and everything about the image. I think it was a image of a sunset, and first off, your art skills are amazing. I just want to say that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that level of just being able to put that image onto a painting in that detail, how did you learn how to paint in that way?
I guess it comes down to craftsmanship. My dad was an architect. He's no longer alive, but he used to bring me into his office when I was a little kid, and I would play with the pencils and the drafting supplies and all that, and I just kind of watch him work, and his attention to detail, I think, carried over through the years, and then when I learned how to paint, I was always kind of basically just looking at the details and trying to fine tune everything. Yeah. I don't know. I guess it was kind of a natural progression for me to start wanting to paint finer and finer details. And then I got into using smaller brushes, and
Just the
I've done a
overall
lot of,
progression of basically creativity. Yeah.
Step by step. Yeah. And I've done a lot of really detailed, larger paintings, but, like larger paintings, like, like something like that size. I didn't paint that, but something like that. Like if I try to do something with the level of detail that I put in my Altoid paintings, it can take months, and I don't always have the patience for working on the same painting for months at a time. So, I used to not really paint that many things until I started getting into plein air painting. And then that kind of opened the door to be able to do more and more. So.
Okay. That's interesting. Did you learn to paint, on yourself, or did you go to any classes or YouTube or anything like that?
Not really, not much YouTube. Although, I watch a lot of. I've seen all of them by now. But James Gurney, he's got a really great YouTube channel. So anybody listening to this can check out his channel, because he's the creator of Dinotopia.
What's that?
It's like a children's book. It's like a fantasy world of dinosaurs and humans living in the same place.
So it's a collection of books, or
there's a number of books. I think the first one came out in probably like 1991 or 92. He's probably made at least 3 or 4, maybe more. Not a ton, but he did the story and did all the paintings for the pictures in the books.
Yeah.
And but anyway, he's got a great YouTube channel. That's kind of the similar way that I like to paint. And I've learned a lot from him, but I guess just like with a lot of artists, I learned how to paint partially on my own, partially through school. I think my high school art teacher actually taught me a lot. His name was David King. I don't know if he still teaches, but
where'd you go to school?
He still paints. That was back in Ohio, in Northeast Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and then I went to University of Colorado Boulder for a little bit, and then I transferred to the Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design. I graduated in 2010 with a BFA in painting.
So you knew like this was what you wanted to do. Like when did that realization or just like passion come to you? Do you remember like at a certain age or with something that you did?
It was kind of always there. In like elementary school, I did like the covers for like a few of the school holiday plays.
Yeah.
Just like did something in art class, and some teacher probably said like, oh, let's use that for the, so.
So it started at an early age.
An early age. Yeah. And then more, I guess I got more inclined into wanting to paint when I was in high school. There were a few art projects, because like when you're in art class in high school, everybody's sort of made to do the same project. And a few of those projects I really liked them and kind of got more involved and thought, maybe I want to paint more in the future.
That's interesting. And you mentioned you went to Boulder, Colorado Boulder, and you're living there currently. What draws you to be in that place, like that environment? I know it's like the nature and everything is beautiful, and what made you want to live there?
Mostly mountains. I mean, I just wanted to, when I moved here, I guess that was in fall of 2004. Part of the reason I came here was because I was just wanted to paint the mountains.
Yeah.
But I didn't really start painting like that much of the landscape around here until like, I don't know, 2016 or something. So, I mean, I was snowboarding a lot. I used to snowboard like, like probably 50 to 100 days a year.
Wow.
But
because it snows a lot right over there in that region. There's
in
a lot of snowfall.
in the mountains.
Yeah,
in the mountains it snows kind of a lot, but I mean, we have not had almost any snow this winter.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Personally,
at least down in town.
Yeah, for me, I live in like Southern California, Orange County area, and I actually went snowboarding last weekend in the mountains over here. It's kind of like a 45-minute to an hour drive, but usually the only time you could go snowboarding is like the day after it rains. Like that's the only period.
Where'd you go? Like Mountain High or Big Bear or something?
Yeah, there's a place called Mount Baldy, and it's, I think, literally 45 minutes from like major suburban areas. And yeah, there's snowfall only when it rains, because the sun over here just melts the snow like right away. Like it barely stays for like a month. So as long as it rains, there's snow over there. So it was fun to do that.
That's kind of like how it is downtown here in Boulder. Like it'll snow a few inches, maybe a foot sometimes, and then it'll be gone. If it's a foot, it'll be gone usually within like a few days, because we get like 300 days of sun here in Boulder and like Denver. Up in the mountains, it'll last usually for longer, and I guess every winter it'll snow here for. There's at least one time where it'll snow and it'll stay for a few weeks. Yeah. But, yeah.
And during the winter times, when it's cold and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boulder, I've been to Colorado like 2-3 times, and I've been to Boulder and Denver area, and even the Rocky Mountain National Park. That's nearby, right? Like around.
Yeah, probably 45 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love just it's one of my favorite parks. I've been to a lot of national parks, and just the scenic views and just seeing the trees, and that, I forget what the road is called, that it's like a nice scenic road that you drive up of. And
probably Trail Ridge Road.
Yeah. Trail Ridge Road.
Yeah.
Me and my family have driven there a few times now, and it's one of my favorite places to visit, really. So it's really nice. And so also you mentioned you like snowboarding, and you've done it a lot. What got you into snowboarding? Was it just staying in Boulder, or were you interested in it before?
Yeah, I got into snowboarding probably when I was like 10 years old, and my cousin Wes was kind of the one who got me into it, because he started maybe a couple of years before that. And I had started skiing maybe when I was 5 or something.
Yeah.
But snowboarding back then was still just picking up in popularity. I used to go to ski club with the school, and my mom used to give me dinner money to spend on dinner, and I would not eat dinner and spend it on the snowboard rental.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember there were a few times where, like, because they didn't even have that many snowboard rentals, because it wasn't even that popular yet. So I remember being this little kid riding this giant snowboard, because that was one of the only ones they had.
Yeah. And that's in Boulder, right? Like, I know Aspen is a place where, okay, you're not talking about Boulder, but I know
that was back in Ohio. Yeah.
Yeah. And in Aspen, I know that in Colorado, that's like a big area where a bunch of tourists and people come to do that kind of snowboarding and stuff. Have you been up there yet? Or
I went to the X Games at Aspen and watched a few times, and never snowboarded at Aspen, but like Breckenridge and Vail and Keystone and a bunch of other ones. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I want to get back into. Go ahead.
Speaking of snowboarding, nowadays, kind of the only reason I still snowboard, but the only reason I go snowboarding is so I can paint in the mountains.
Yeah, so you get a better angle and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Better view.
And if I sell the painting, it pays for the pass.
Yeah. Yeah, so I want to get back into painting. You mentioned like that you use the Altoid can and you have all these, like, what are some of the other materials you use that go into a painting, that or like what type of paints? And because the painting is relatively small, so you need to have small brushes. Like, can you go into detail about that?
Yeah, I mean, I could even show you my brushes. They're actually right here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are you on your recording? Are you using the video and everything?
Yeah, I'm recording everything.
So there's my little brush kit.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a pencil case, and I usually have like just a paper towel in there to wipe my brush off before I use the water.
Do you usually use all the brushes in a painting, or
no? Usually maybe only like 1 to 3 brushes, maybe 2.
Okay.
It just depends on what the painting is. If it's got a few big areas of color, I can use like a bigger brush.
Yeah.
Like something like that.
That's much wider than a normal smaller brush.
Yeah, it's like I mean, it's only 10 millimeters, but can I flip this around? Let me flip the camera around.
Yeah, there you
go. So I mean, it's not very big as far as paintbrushes go, but it's the biggest one that's in here. And then different round brushes and flat brushes. And then all the way down to like really small. And this one, like.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So that's like a needle point. But
that's interesting.
And then that's like the mineral spirits solvent. I usually have a few of those.
What does that do?
That's like to clean the brush. I mean, I wipe the brushes off on the paper towel, and then I use that to clean the final amount of paint off there. And here's a little wood block that I use to kind of keep that in so it doesn't tip over. And I can also like put brushes in there.
Yeah.
And then, like the Altoids container.
Do you, so that the canvas you have in there, so it's easily replaceable, right? Like, but you could switch it out pretty easily.
Yeah, I can, but I mean, I usually don't, because I use a new one every time. So here's some of my newest paintings. They're all
lined up.
And so so
you could get empty Altoid cans like that, or you had to buy them?
I mean, I could buy them, but I mean full, but I get them all empty on eBay.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And the paint you use, is that a specific type of paint, or is
so it's usually it's oil. I mean, I've used oil paint for the most part. And only recently I started using other things like that one. That's I guess that's oil. Yeah. So, but that one I used watercolor pencil to draw it in, and then paint called casein. And there's some of the casein paint down there. And casein was a forerunner to acrylic paint. And I think it's one in the world.
Wow.
And then and it was really popular in the early 20th century and all the way up until the 1960s when acrylic paint was invented. And then acrylic kind of took over because acrylic is it's a little bit easier to work with than casein, and as well, like the binder in casein was a little bit brittle, and acrylic is more rubbery and it could stretch a little bit easier. So it's better for like stretched canvas or whatever. And even in the last like 50 years, the pigments have gotten a lot better so that they're more light fast, like they don't fade. So, but these are acrylic paints that I've finished this painting in, and they're slow drying acrylics. So I've been kind of getting into those.
So the paintings you sell is that like you sell it with the Altoid can? So with the paint and everything? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty much usually just oil paint, but I've been getting into acrylic, the slow drying acrylics more.
Okay.
And, yeah.
So you mentioned like you were inspired by other people. Can do you know, or what was your main inspiration to create those types of paintings in the first place? Like something that you saw, whether it was on social media or anywhere really. Who was that person?
As far as this exact style, like with the Altoid containers, it's there's a girl named Heidi and Elise who, because she used to live in the Denver area, and I think she lives in Southwest Colorado in Crested Butte now, maybe. And but I was doing a lot of plein air painting in Boulder, and at some point she had commented on one of my photos when I was painting there was a fire one morning in Boulder, and I was painting that, and then some of her friends took a picture of me painting, I think. Yeah. And so she tagged me in that picture, and I checked out her art, and I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. And then we ended up meeting up one day in probably April of 2017. We painted together, and then that's when I was like asking her about what she's doing. And but yeah, she's not the only one. There's like at least when I started making these, there were probably only that I know of, only probably like 3 or 4 other people that were doing the Altoid idea.
Yeah, so it's a relatively new like way of painting, really, and on that small Altoid canvas, really. Yeah,
and and so I don't use canvas. I know that there are canvases that are that size, but I use wood panels.
Okay.
Some people like wondering if it's paper or canvas or what, but I use
just
wood.
The wood that's painted white, or
yeah, it's just painted white.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why would you? What's the reasoning behind using wood instead of canvas or any other type of paper or anything?
Well, canvas has the small bumps in it.
Yeah.
And I have done small paintings on canvas at that size, 2 inches by 3 inches. I have a bunch of paintings from probably 2014 when I was doing small canvases that size. But like when you photograph them up close, you see all the bumps from the canvas texture, and I kind of wanted to get away from doing that. And then I think probably 2017 I was using like not cardstock, but mat board, like basically cardboard, but not necessarily. And mat board works okay too, but I think for longevity purposes, wood is maybe a little bit better.
So is the wood like sanded down so that it doesn't have any grooves or just completely flat?
Yeah, well, it's already pretty smooth. Where's that one? It's if you go to Home Depot, you can get it in 4 foot by 8 foot sections or 2 foot by 4 foot sections. So here's like one of the empty tins, and that's stuck in there with Velcro. It's just there's it's a micro Velcro. It's very thin Velcro.
Yeah. Just to keep it stable in there.
Just to keep it in there. Yeah. And then, but there you can sort of see the back of it. The wood is already pretty smooth. I mean, if I hold it up against the light like that, so the light falls down across it, there's not really almost any texture to it.
Yeah.
And then I just, I usually just spray ahead. If you spray it white, it's a better, it's a flatter texture than if you brush it.
Like an even coat, basically.
Yeah. So I usually spray the whole thing and then chop it up with my saw. Yeah.
And like, what are some of the things that like you decide on where to paint? Like, do you just think of a place or just go to a place and paint, or do you plan ahead on where you want to go to paint?
It's kind of a mix of both. It's kind of like sometimes I know exactly what I want to paint and I know what the light is going to look like, because it's kind of all about the light for me. Like what, as with a lot of plein air painters, it's sort of like chasing the light, and you don't really want to like chase the light necessarily. Like you don't want, like if you start the painting, it looks a particular way and that's what drew you to it. But then like you don't want to like try to like, you want to kind of keep the light consistent. But what was I going to say? No, I mean, sometimes I drive around totally aimlessly and looking for something that inspires me, and then just go and paint that.
Do you always carry all your materials around with you? Like, or not always, but like just most of the time you have it with you?
Usually. Yeah. So, I mean, at least this little fanny pack,
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't like walk around with a fanny pack. I'm not one of those people, but like leave it in my car or whatever.
Yeah. And I think that level of just being able to look at a scenic view, especially in Boulder, there's all this nature around, and you could just go to an area and you see something, a landscape or any place that you like, and start painting is kind of just allows that creativity to flow more naturally.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Do you like, have you traveled anywhere else, like to paint as well, or mostly in the United States? Okay.
I've traveled a lot to paint. Some of it has been specifically for painting, but most of it has been actually just traveling with my girlfriend. She is a physicist, and so she goes to conferences pretty often.
Except this year, probably.
So, well, maybe not. I'm going to go back over here because the internet's better. Yeah, she. Well, I guess not in the last like 6 months or 8 months, however long it's been.
Yeah.
But well, we were in Mexico for the beginning of the pandemic for like, we got stuck there so we were there for 3 months.
Oh wow.
And so I did a lot of painting down there, but I think I brought like 14 or so Altoid containers with me. And I filled those all up, but I had a sketchbook with me because just in case I wanted to do other stuff, and I ended up filling up that whole sketchbook. So.
Oh wow. Yeah, because 3 months is a long time.
But yeah. So, but and then I ended up sewing more pages into the back of the sketchbook because I ran out of space. Yeah, but I mean, before the pandemic, I was traveling a lot more. Like we went down to Peru, we went to Alaska. I've done a few murals in Miami. So
okay, yeah, like on buildings and stuff.
Yeah, I paint large scale murals as well as small stuff.
Yeah, so because like that's like a whole different kind of uh, art type, really, because you got to use different materials and it's more time consuming and everything. But
yeah, it's a little more time consuming, but and totally different materials. But in general, it's like, you know, a lot of the principles are the same because it's all just like making an image, you know?
Yeah. What do you prefer more? Do you prefer Altoid painting, like small paintings, or big or equal amounts of really?
I kind of like it the way it is right now. It's just a mural every so often and then like Altoids most of the time because with the Altoid cans, like, can just do whatever I want, just paint wherever I want. And with the murals, it's usually you're doing it for somebody, which it's not always like the most fun as far as like you do like whatever you want. But I mean, my mural partner Jason and we kind of try to call the shots with the designs that we do, and so I guess in that respect, it's not so. It ends up being really fun, actually.
Yeah, just being able to create
something on a large scale that maybe a lot of people are going to see if it's out in public. Sometimes we've done murals in more private spaces, and those are fun too in a different way. But yeah, the whole like large scale thing and covering a lot of area quickly is it's pretty fun. You know, it's more active than sitting there and like tediously painting some small little thing, you know. But yeah, it's really different. It's fun.
Do you listen to music or anything while you're painting, or do you like to just be in the zone without any distractions whatsoever?
Yeah, sometimes half and half. Sometimes I'm not listening to anything. Sometimes I listen to music or podcasts or whatever.
Yeah, that's good. Like I want to talk about like the national parks and everything. What are some of the reasons like you like painting in nature, and what draws you to that, and instead of just being inside or painting like portraits, or what draws you to go out into nature and paint?
I guess it's kind of like my whole like life philosophy of like, and it's like all of life is just kind of like, for me, it's like an ongoing study of like the natural laws of nature, like I call it like the creational natural laws. And it's kind of the same as like the laws of physics and just the natural world it's always inspiring. And it's like the most inspiring thing there is. It's always the same, and it's always different, and it's always new, and it's always old. You know, so
all the sunsets, like every day the sun sets, but each new sunset has different lights, and it looks beautiful in its own way.
It's all everything. Every sunset has its own like personality, sort of. Every tree sort of has its own personality, and the biggest thing with painting is the light, really, because like the only reason we can see anything is because of light.
The way the light reflects.
So we see colors because it's reflecting. I guess it's reflecting all of the colors except for that color, and it's absorbing that color. Like if you see a red apple, like it's absorbing red and reflecting all the other light. I mean, I don't exactly understand why
all
that
the
is,
science
but
behind it.
But yeah, it's all reflected light. And when sometimes there's always like really interesting things happening with the light. You just kind of have to find it. And so if you look at a house under some conditions, it can be a really interesting looking house with the way the light's hitting it. But other times it might just be like really boring. So, that's also, it's just about the light and trying to like make it look believable and kind of trying to replicate what it looks like in nature or in, I mean, a house isn't in nature, but it sort of is, in a way.
Yeah.
But
so I was gonna say, you express yourself creatively through paintings and everything that you do, like murals and the Altoid can paints. Do you have any other interests like photography or videography or like graphic design maybe, or any other creative outlets that you might be interested in?
Yeah, I mean, photography, I have taken thousands and thousands of photos, but I don't really necessarily consider myself a photographer. I kind of use a camera as a means to an end, just to get an image to maybe use as a reference for painting or whatever. And videography, I've done a lot of video editing. I used to, because of snowboarding, I used to edit and film a lot, and I used to film a lot of skateboarding and rollerblading and stuff like that as well. And then there's music too. I mean, I'm a musician, so I've made a lot of electronic music, and I've been playing guitar for like, I don't know, 25 years or something.
Wow.
But
so
a mandolin.
When did you, or how did you get into music like that? Was it, I guess, through family or?
Family. A little bit through school, but mostly, like, I grew up in a pretty musical family, so most people in my family played some kind of an instrument.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it like expressing yourself like through any like platform, really, whether it's painting or photography or music. I think it's like the best form or best place to be in, where you could express that. Like, that's like the best thing to do in life, really, is to just be in that moment and express it and share it with people. And it's great that you're doing it and sharing it as well, like through social media and everything. So it's really incredible, man.
Oh, thank you. Do you play any music or anything like that?
I don't personally play like music, but I love listening to music. Like I have like thousands of songs in my playlist, and I just listen to music like all day. Like, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. But I also like doing like graphic design, because in high school I was, I think senior year of high school, I took a graphic design class because like we had it at our high school. It was there as an option. So I was like, why not, learn Photoshop? It might be a cool skill to learn. And so I started that class, and I didn't really know anything about Photoshop or Illustrator, but I'm not personally, I can't like paint for shit. Like, I don't know how to paint that well, like, or draw anything. So when I realized like there's an undo button on a computer where if I make a mistake, like I could undo that mistake and try again. And that like really allowed me to create more stuff. Like, so in that class, we learned how to paint on Photoshop and do different basically projects. And now I love doing that stuff. Like I do social media posts, like for the podcast, like I create everything that's on there. So it's a different way of expressing yourself, but it's all part of each individual person's process, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever listen to like Hidden Brain? There's like it used to be on NPR, but then the host, his name was Shankar Vedantam. They split their Hidden Brain podcast off onto their own thing, and a few months ago, and and they got their own website, and they had job offerings. And some of it was like, sound production and sound design and music. You do all the collect all the sound effects and like sound samples and nature and in cities and then make music. And then I was thinking that would have been a really fun job to get. And that I think the position got filled pretty fast, but that's also pretty fun, kind of fascinating stuff, is like collecting sounds and then doing stuff with them. But
should we wrap it up there? I think that's a good time to wrap it up. Thank you.
Sure.
For coming on. I really appreciate you making time for this. And,
no problem. My pleasure.
Thank you everybody for listening. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Make sure to check out his Instagram. Like you'll definitely want to see and follow all of his posts. Like they're just brilliant. You saw some of them lined up in the other room, but there's many more to come. And thank you again. And bye-bye everybody.